Welcome to another video, and in this one we're going to be talking about the Wave 3 USB microphone from Elgato. It's another mic aimed at streamers, much like the Roccat Torch that we reviewed previously. Elgato are pitching this as a premium microphone and digital mixing solution aimed at content creators. So does it live up to those bold claims? Well, let's have a closer look and find out. So here it is on the desk. You're currently hearing me through my Blue Yeti Nano, my old favourite, but is this the mic that will finally knock it off its perch? Very sleek design. The mic comes on a U-mount shaped there that you can probably see if I hold it up a bit better. It's connected to your PC via the USB-C cable connected there, running into a USB-A connected on your PC. At the back there also, you can probably just about see there is also a headphone socket, 3.5mm jack as standard. So that's it in terms of sockets. It's really easy, you just plug it in, the computer detects it, and away you go. In terms of the actual hardware itself, what are you actually getting? Well, it's 24-bit audio, 96 kilohertz, the standard kind of level of quality that you'd be expecting from a mic like this at this price range. We have this jog wheel here that you can use to adjust, and you can press this button in order to change settings. What this is doing is switching between the mode that you are adjusting when you turn it like this. So in the first instance, that there is your microphone volume. So as you turn that down, your mic goes down. The second option there is the setting for your headphones, the volume that's coming back into your headphones. So that will be your monitor usually for your mic. But you would also be able to route your Windows audio back through there so that you can hear it in your headphones. Finally, the third option, if we press it again, this is the mix between the mic audio and your headphone, sort of Windows audio. So in this stage over here, I believe this is probably you're hearing your mic, adjust your mic, and as you adjust it across, you start to hear more of the other audio coming from Windows until you get to the far side when it is just the Windows audio. There's also a lovely little button on the top as well. It's a capacitive button that just takes the lightest of touches. No button that you have to push in, and all it does is mute your mic. But that is so nice that a very light touch on the top there is enough to mute your mic. That is far better than mics like, for example, the Blue Yeti Nano, where you have to push the button in and you get that kind of pop as you press it in on the audio. You're going to get that little pop sound as you push it in. When we looked at the Roccat Torch, they had a gesture control that allowed you to just swipe your hand over. I felt it was a little bit gimmicky. It didn't always work correctly first time. This for me is far better. Just the lightest of touches and off it goes. So you may be thinking, well, if that's the button on the top and this is the jog wheel that adjusts the volumes, what about patterns? What about polar patterns? Well, because this mic here in front of me has omnidirectional, takes the audio from all directions, has a cardioid pattern, so it will take what's around the front. The Roccat one had a stereo pattern. This doesn't bother with giving you multiple patterns that you're probably not going to use anyway. It's literally just a cardioid pattern, what a streamer or a content creator, a video maker would be using in their setup. It's that they're not going to want the audio coming around this side. They only want what's coming in front of them. Might be different if you were perhaps like a podcast creator where you might have more than one person in the room and you want the audio being picked up on multiple sides. That's different. But this, as I say, is aimed at content creators. It's aimed primarily at streamers and YouTube video makers. So you can understand why they're not bothered with the other patterns, that they literally just want to focus on what's in the front. Coming back to the base, coming back to the stand, much like the Roccat, much like the Blue Yeti Nano, they always tend to come on these really low stands. And that means that one of the issues you have with condenser mics is they tend to work best when they're up close to the mouth. That's when you get the nicer, richer sound. So the fact that it's on a stand like this, you can see that it is aimed at streamers in the sense that it's kind of probably, you're going to be moving it away from your desk so that you can type on the keyboard. That's where the sound starts to get a bit weaker. It starts to lose that tone, that rich tone that you would normally get from what it would be capable of if it was up close. So much like I have here with my Blue Yeti Nano on an arm, whether it's an overhead arm or the low profile arm like I have here, you want this mic, to get the best out of the mic like this, you're going to want it up on an arm to get the best out of it. In terms of the hardware, in terms of what you've got on this, it's simple by design. It's meant to be like they've removed all the frills, all the gimmicks, all the RGB lights that you might expect to Roccat rely on. It doesn't need any of that. It literally just has good quality audio inside and the minimum that you need to get going. That's not to say that this mic isn't powerful, because it comes with some great software called Wavelink. Now, Wavelink gives you some additional features that improve the mic quality, audio quality on the mic as well, but it also has a few nifty features besides that, and this is where the digital mixing solution comes in the original headline for this. So let's take a closer look at the Wavelink software and see what that is capable of. So the first thing you're going to notice when you look at the Wavelink software is this column on the left hand side. This is your Elgato Wave 3, your microphone, and as you can see the volume levels are already bouncing. Now let's take a quick look at what's in this drop down when we open it up. For the Elgato Wave 3 you actually get additional options in addition to the hardware controls that allow you to manipulate the volume levels and so on within the software. So as you can see here, the input level I've got set fairly low because it is quite sensitive and will pick up a lot of the noise around me. The next set of options here are the headphone jack as well, which means that you can control the headphone volume from the monitoring side of things. As you move those sliders down, you will also notice the light on your mic on the hardware will also, the LEDs will also sort of move as well to match what you're seeing on the screen now. And then we have three options. By default, these are usually, I think, all unticked, and they're really useful tools. So let's take a look at them each individually. Enhanced low cut filter. If you are likely to have your mic a little bit further away from you, perhaps more than half a meter, it's unlikely, but if you did have it that far away, then you tend to get a lot of low rumbling and so on. By ticking this, it improves the low cut filter, which removes those lower rumbling sounds that you'll get on the mic. So that's quite useful, but in your use cases, if you're a streamer, you're probably going to have it fairly close to you, so you probably won't need that one ticked. And in fact, it'll probably make the sound worse by doing so. So definitely, if you are just using the mic in everyday, ordinary, just close enough for you to be using it, you would be making sure that this is left unticked. Next option is clip guard. Clip guard, as you may guess if you know what clipping is, when you shout really loudly, perhaps you're playing a game where you're screaming at the fact that somebody's just shot you in Fortnite, or you add clip guard and that just stops your mic going into the red as easily, and that means that the sound doesn't get distorted, and it means that your viewers are gonna thank you because their eardrums aren't getting exploded. And the final option here is the wave gain lock. Now you may have experienced this before, but certain software, Skype as an example, has a habit of taking over the volume level of your mic when you're running that software, and will adjust it back up to something that you probably didn't want it to be set at. So for example, you may have set your volume level to be at a sort of a nice 80% level, and then Skype takes over and ramps it back up to 100%, and you get all that noise and background noise that you were trying to avoid by keeping the gain quite low. So it's probably worth ticking that one as well, because it will stop that from happening and make sure that your Wave 3 is always set correctly based on your setting on here or inside the Wavelink. But the real power in the Wavelink software is what's part of the mixing solution that they've been talking about as one of the big selling points for this. So you may have noticed then that there are two different volume sliders here, one with the headphone icon and then the second with this kind of output icon here, and you can mute them independently and you can also slide them independently. And the reason for this is that for each input that you have set up in Wavelink, you can adjust the volume level of what you're hearing in your headphones to be a separate volume level to what everyone else is hearing. Now, as an example with your mic, you probably don't want to hear yourself talking. I know I don't, so I'd probably reduce that down to 0. There's so much more going on here because, as I say, this is just your mic, but Wavelink handles far more than just your mic. You've got these options down here which allow you to set the monitor, so where the effectively the headphones are going to be connected to. And then you have this one here, the stream mix. That's what this section here was for, this slider. So this is the thing that you're going to be expecting others to hear on stream. Now, as you can see, it's bouncing along nicely with my the volume level from the mic. What we're going to do then is we're going to start adding some extra inputs. So let's start by doing this. By default, Wavelink installs a bunch of these devices that give you the ability to control different audio inputs on separate channels. So for example, you might want to have your music routed through one channel, your game audio through another channel, your Discord audio coming from a third channel, and then perhaps alerts, browser alerts that are, if you're a Twitch streamer as an example, and you have a new follower, then the alerts, the sound effects for that might go through that as a separate channel. So let's just start with adding music. And there you go, you've got music. But that's only half of it. What we now need to do is hook something up to use this music channel. And we can do that, as an example, I've got Spotify open. And if I go to this little icon over here, this is a shortcut icon that takes you to your Windows sound settings for the apps, for the separate apps. So as you can see here, I've got Spotify open. It's currently using my default audio, which currently is just my headphones. But I can now change this and use the Wavelink music channel that we've just set up in the Wavelink option. So there it is at the bottom, Wavelink music. So now when we go back into the Wavelink software, you can now see that the music is also bouncing. And if I mute the mic just temporarily, you can still see that the monitor mix and the stream mix are bouncing at the bottom now. So this is where the real power of a Wavelink comes into play, because now what we can do is to reduce the volume for the headphones volume so that it's a little bit lower, and yet for the stream they would hear the higher level, the audio would be at a higher volume level. Now, how do we know that we've got this mix, this balance right? So the icon over on the far right hand side here, you've got the little ear icons, and the top one there is green, which tells you that you are listening to currently the monitor mix. So if I was to put my headphones on now, I would be hearing what I want to be hearing when I'm streaming. You know, the music level's fairly low, my mic audio pretty much non-existent at that point. But if I then tick this box down here, now I'll be able to hear in my headphones what everyone else is hearing. And that's a really useful tool to have, because now you know for sure that the audio that is going out to the viewers is exactly balanced the way you want it to be balanced, so that your music levels aren't overpowering your vocals and that the game audio isn't too loud compared to your vocals. It's really nice and easy to control it all in here. And you can add, as I say, you can add lots of different devices here. Music, let's add another one, browser, because you might have YouTube or something from time to time. You might want to have voice chat and link this up so that Discord is routed through this voice chat device. Then that way you can adjust your the noise of the teammates that you're talking to. You can have a volume level set for yourself, but then another volume set for everyone else. Perhaps your viewers are saying that they're the people that you're playing with are too loud, so you can come in here and adjust it, reduce it down to a level that is actually lower than your volume level. It's entirely up to you. That's where the real power of Wavelink comes from. And in a way, it's kind of frustrating that this software isn't available, because I don't think it relies on the mic as such, but they've obviously Elgato have tied this software to the mic, and it means you need to have the mic running in order for this software to work, which is a shame, because I think a lot of people would like this type of interface for their audio setup. So what does this mean for OBS? So let's have a quick look at OBS and how we take what we've done in here and get it working in OBS. So if I switch over to OBS now, so here you go, we've got the OBS window open, and I will move myself a bit lower down so you can see what I'm doing. So now we have this screen here. Now, by default, if we go to File and we look at Settings and we look at the audio options, usually by default your desktop audio will be set to default in here, and your mic auxiliary will also be set to that. Now what that means is, by default, you end up with both of these. You have both your desktop audio picking up everything that's playing. So at the moment, that looks, I'm guessing that's probably picking up Spotify. And then you have your mic input here, which is the default. If you go back into settings again, go to audio, we're now going to disable this top one. And what we're going to do instead is we're just going to route this mic auxiliary audio to use the Wavelink stream option. Apply. Now this is now going to be taking the output, all the volume levels, all the mixing that you've done inside the Wavelink in here. It's taking this output and using that as your audio for your stream. And now this is the easiest way to set up your Wavelink and OBS. This just gives you exactly what you want with the control of all your audio in Wavelink. There is a downside to this though, because what this means is that inside Wavelink there is an issue with the software. There is one big thing that's missing, and that is the ability to control your mic post-processing. What you'll be quite commonly used to using perhaps are things like compression, EQ, noise suppression, particularly if you've got a noisy house like I have with fans and projectors and so on. You want to have some sort of extra level of effects added to the mic audio to get more out of it. And some software, they do actually provide you, for example, the Blue Yeti Nano provides you a suite of effects that you can apply to your mic to get it sounding better. But the Wave 3 doesn't do that. It doesn't give you any of these VSTs, any options to add post-processing effects to your mic audio, which is, I think it's a real shame. I think that's something that they're missing from this. And this mic has been out a while by now, and I would have thought they would have done something about that and added that into the software, but it's still missing. So how do we solve that in OBS? So as you can see, we still have this mic connected here. If I unmute this mic, you can see that it is currently bouncing. What we would do is we would remove the Wave 3 from the stream output, so that now all we're going to be picking up is music, browser, voice chat from Discord. Perhaps in here we might even add a game. Oh, I've added the wrong one. I'll add a game on there. That's picking up everything that is coming from music and all of the other inputs at this point. We now switch back into OBS. And in OBS, what we do is we've got this here. If we go back into File and Settings and go to Audio, we can now change this so that the mic aux audio just uses the original Elgato Wave audio. And instead, now what we do is we take the second one there as an example and route that to the Wavelink stream. So now you've got your mic on a separate channel compared to everything else. And what that means is you can then go into the mic audio over here, go to filters, click add, and as an example, go to noise suppression and add your RN noise. And voila, you now have noise suppression added to your mic, and everything else is routed through and controlled by your Wavelink. That's probably the easiest way of setting up this, and it's perfect if you've got a single PC set up for streaming. If you've got two PCs, you're going to run into more difficulties there because you won't be able to do it the way we've just done there. But for this, it's perfect. For most people, I'm guessing, if they've got a one PC set up, this is absolutely perfect and so easy to get going. So we're now going to do some sound tests with the Wave 3, and we'll compare it to my existing mic setup here. So this is how the Wave 3 will sound if I hold the mic up to a level that is consistent with how my Blue Yeti Nano would be. And this is how my Blue Yeti Nano would sound at the same distance with no noise suppression or any other post-processing effects. As you can see and hear, it's very loud with all the noise in the background with the projector and the fans running. This is how the Wave 3 sounds when it is on the desk in front of me like this, slightly angled up at my mouth, but you will hear that if I'm moving my mouse around, you will get a lot of banging sounds because it's not on an arm. And if I start typing into a window like this, you can hear various keyboard noises. I've now got the mic over to one side of the keyboard so that I can continue to type while I'm talking, and if I'm using the mouse as well, you will hear various noises as it bounces around. As a comparison, I will now rotate the mic and you'll be able to hear what I mean around the cardioid pattern at the front. So as I turn the mic around, you will now start to hear that the mic audio is starting to sound more distant because they sound further away. And if I rotate it back further, all the way back round, you will now start to hear it getting better to a point where it is actually now back to how it was at the beginning. This is how the mic sounds with noise suppression on, so you shouldn't hear any more fan noise when I'm not talking. And if I carry on typing away in here, you will still hear keyboard tapping. And if I'm moving this around, you will probably still pick up the noise from this because it is not on an arm. And this is slightly closer to my mouth, as though it would be on an arm with noise suppression enabled. And this is a comparison for the original Blue Yeti Nano with noise suppression enabled but no post-processing. So I've now got the Wave 3 connected to an arm. The U-mount here can be unscrewed from the base, and the base is actually quite heavy and very sturdy. But if you unscrew it from the base, you can then use the adapter that they supply you with that takes it from a 1/4 thread to both a 3/8 and a 5/8. So you've got a choice depending on what your arm is like. So this is it connected, and this is how it sounds. I'm still using no post-processing. This is just noise suppression on this, and with it being up off the desk now, there will probably still be an element of noise if I'm typing away and moving my mouse around, but you won't get much. It should be a bit better than it was. So I'm now using the Wave 3 mic like I would normally be using my Blue Yeti Nano. It's on an arm so that it's directly in front of me. The mic is currently using post-processing and noise suppression, and if I go into here and I start typing things around, you'll probably hear noise, but I would hope that with it being on an arm elevated away, it will be a bit better than it used to be. And for comparison, this is how my Blue Yeti Nano sounded. So which do you prefer, the Blue Yeti Nano sound or the Wave 3 sound? Let me know in the comments. So what are my final thoughts on this Wave 3? Well, pros and cons. It's got a really nice sleek look about it. It's got fantastic audio quality. It's got the things that I need in terms of the cardioid pattern, does away with all the other features. The real power though comes with the Wavelink software itself. Amazing. Wavelink software is absolutely top value. But what about the cons? Well, while the Wavelink software is really good, it is still missing that VST support, the ability to add your post-processing effects inside that software. So if you are on a 2PC setup, you're going to run into a bit of trouble there. But other than that, it's a fantastic mic. For the price point, it's definitely up there. I think I prefer this one over the Roccat Torch for sure. Am I ready to move away from my Blue Yeti Nano? Possibly. So my question to you now is, do you think I could have done a better job with the audio on this setup to make it sound even better? Let me know in the comments, or head over to twitch.tv/ADJStreams where I may be streaming. We can have a conversation about it there, or head into the Discord. All the links for these are in the description below, and I look forward to hearing what you've got to say on the matter. That's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.
Do not shoot anything out. Hang on a minute. Oh, you